What makes a great fashion photograph?
I think it's for everybody different. For me, it's something, it's a picture which kind of haunts me, and I want to go back to it and look at it over and over again. And, either because it tells me a story or it has like a movement or something which grabs me.
One of the things that always strikes me with your pictures is they tell such a story, and you kind of try and imagine scenarios that the model is in. Is that something that is very dear to you? It's very important to you that there's a story to each image?
Yeah, I think it's important for me. It helps me to create my work because when I have a story, I can direct the girl. I can give her an idea in the head, so she's not only just posing for the picture, but she actually plays a role like almost like in a movie. And I think it's better for me. I think you stop at the image and you look at it for a while and you just try to understand, and I think that's more intriguing.
And what drives the story? Does it depend on the model? Will you meet a girl and then come up with the story, or do you have the story and then you find the girl who's right for it? How does it work?
It's a little bit of both. It could be a girl like for example, when I discovered Claudia Schiffer many years ago. She really started to inspire me when I noticed that she looked like Brigitte Bardot. And then, all these images came up from the movies, and, I love those movies. And then we created the look on her, and it had like this impact, which, we didn't really expect. But, so she really inspired me because she reminded me of Brigitte Bardot. Then other times I see a movie and I look for a girl who will fit into the story. So it's a little bit of both.
Were you creative as a child? Were you interested in visuals, in fashion, or anything like that?
Well, in Germany we have Carnival, which I was looking for all year long, because it's just so much fun, and I always loved the dressing up. It's funny, I was talking yesterday to friends who hated it. I was like, really? I loved it so much. It was so great, I was always like dressing up, of course, like a princess, and it was like the best day in my life. And then, when I was a child, and then, I was like, loved to play theater. I always think I had was always creative. I loved to write poems and play theater, and like this. And then later on, it was like when I was a teenager, David Hamilton was really popular. So I was like imagining like being a David Hamilton model. And so it was very young in my life. I was kind of interested in fashion. I mean, not really fashion, but more imagery and, the dressing up, the theatrical side of it. When I finished school, I played in the Circus for a while. There was this great circus in Munich called Circus Roncalli. And I loved it so much. It was very poetic, and after the show, I went to the director, which was Andre Heller. He's a very famous Austrian writer and director, and said, "Oh, I love your circus. I would like to participate." And he was like, "Oh, you look like a circus girl. You can start tomorrow." And I did it only for 3 months, and I loved it so much, and I still have lots of memories, and it's always kind of try to build it into my images, the performance, the theatrical, the fantasy, the glitter, and all of that.
It seems kind of quite bohemian that you went and said, "Oh, I want to be in the circus." Or were you ambitious as a child, or not?
No, not so much. No, I was not ambitious. I was really not that great in school. And it was like the end of the hippie time, and I lived in a hippie community, and I wasn't really like working that much in school. I just like finished my exams, and I wasn't really ambitious. I just wanted, it was just quite free. There was not this stress I think young people have today, like what am I going to do? What's my job going to be?
Yeah.
We were quite free-spirited, so we were just like living into the day, and we were not really thinking of it so much.
Tell me more about the hippie commune. That sounds fantastic. What was that like?
Yeah, well, I was living in the mountains in Bavaria, and I went to school there, and I met like these friends, and we decided to rent an old farmhouse and live together. and we were like 5, and like people came and left, and we were playing music, cooked together, and it was a fantastic time. Really have very good memories of it. And then after I went to Munich, and then that was over, and actually I wanted to study. I didn't really want to study, but I thought, what else can I do? So the day I went, I set foot in the university, a casting person came up to me and asked me for a model job. So I turned around and never went back to university. And then I started modeling, and that's how I came into fashion.
Because you grew up, if you don't mind me asking about it, you grew up in foster care, is that right? And did they encourage you to be creative?
No, not really. No, I think I think it came later.
Yeah. Do you think happy coincidences?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And tell me more about that period where you got scouted to be a model.
I was called by John Casablanca to come to Paris, so I packed my suitcase and took the train and never really went back. So then I stayed in Paris and started the modeling career there, and I did it for a long time.
Did you feel like when you were modelling you were allowed to kind of show your personality, or is that maybe something that has contributed to why you want that in your photography? Because
when I was modeling I wasn't really so happy because I think I was not, you get judged very much for your outside, and I feel often, people don't really care for your personality, and I wanted always to express myself in front of the camera and do like silly things and move and, have fun, but people were like, no, just sit still, look to the left, to the right, and that was kind of frustrating and not boring, but, I didn't really enjoy it that much. I enjoyed the traveling and the meeting lots of people and like great photographers. Like I worked with Helmut Newton and Guy Bourdin, and they influenced me a lot in my work, and that was a great part of it. But like really the modeling part wasn't really my favorite. Sometimes I had fun.
What's been the biggest impact on how you operate as a photographer? Was it just the experience of being a model and understanding things like how you weren't encouraged to kind of express yourself? Or was it kind of particular styles and aesthetics of photographers that kind of made you want to try certain things? Or was it a bit of both?
But to be honest, photography came to me much later. I wasn't really thinking of doing photography when I was a model. I was just like, when you're a model, somehow you're like so into this process that you can't really think of anything else, like you kind of suck into this system. So I actually started to be a photographer because my boyfriend gave me a camera, and that's when I started to be interested in photography. And then he gave me the camera, and he explained me the plus, the circle, and the minus. When the circle lights up, you shoot, and then I started to shoot to photograph my model friends on a trip to Kenya, and I did reportage in an African village of the kids and the women, and when I came back with the pictures, like people were like, "Oh, these are quite nice. Did you take them?" And I was like surprised myself.
Yeah,
and that was kind of the beginning of it. The luck was that I found it. I think many lots of people have talents and will never find it, ever.
Yeah.
But the luck was that I found it. And then, I just started to be very passionate about it, and I started to work and work day and night. I was like crazy in the lab, like developing all my pictures, and I think it's not luck. It's like also to do a lot of work, and then develop your style and to take experience.
Do you remember the first picture that you took that you felt was good? Was there a point where you looked at your pictures and you thought, actually, I really like this. This is my aesthetic. This is what I want to take.
Yeah, well, as I say, I come from reportage, and I remember the first picture of this series. I remember it very well. It was out of focus. It was a man pulling a push car in the street, and he was sweating, and I had this kind of out of focus quality, which I really like. You feel the movement, and it's a lot of energy, and that was my favorite picture at the time, and I was like, wow. And I got really into it. And even now, you know, I love the movement and the spontaneousness and the energy in pictures. And I always get drawn to an out of focus one. If there is one in the whole lot, I was like, oh, I love this one. Oh, out of focus again.
You said that you can always tell if a photograph's been taken by a man or a woman. How do you know?
Well, I was like, it's not always, but I don't know, there's just a little bit something else happening. It's just like a little bit more, maybe a little more sensitive, a little bit more of a story. The girl behaves different. You kind of feel it. Man is more like technical, and the sexiness is more like towards the camera, and it's it's also more like technique is more important somehow. When I started, like some people were like, really, Ellen, a model? She's doing pictures? Like, you know, people really have the idea of you're a model, you're stupid. But I think now, I don't know, I have the feeling it's more easy. Because you know, you have it's easier, the technique is easier, and you have much more possibilities. I think people have more chances now. There's so many magazines. I mean, each time I open a magazine, I see like 5 new names, you know. I think it's probably easier now.
You say the word sexy a lot, and I wonder just what is kind of sexy to you?
I don't know, I think it's just a girl, you know, it's just like something, like a girl is like positive in her body, and like oozes kind of this sensuality, and you know, looks attractive and beautiful, and I don't know, it's also something in the eyes, you know, this little twinkle in the eye. Which I think is really important, like the little naughtiness. I think that's really what I like.
There's so much talk in fashion, particularly in the kind of last 5 years or so, about kind of widening definitions of beauty, and particularly about kind of blurring lines between genders. And is that something that you think about? Do you ever want to avoid presenting women in a way that is kind of traditionally appealing to men?
Funnily enough, I think I have more women who like my pictures than men.
Yeah.
It's always women who come up to me and say they love my pictures, and you know, it's funny like this. You would think it's men, but actually the women really, I think they like, as you said, you know, they feel empowered by the pictures, and they often ask me to, you know, they would love to be photographed by me, and so I think it's a bit for both genders, and also gay men love it, gay women. So it's like, I don't know, if you like that style, I don't think it has really to do with genders.
A lot of fashion photography, the women, or the man, but often the women, they're quite passive. They're kind of being looked at, and they're sitting, and they're not often doing anything. And I think a lot of your imagery shows people doing things. And is that something that's important to you, not just kind of having the model kind of just there as almost as like an object?
Yeah, that's what I like, you know. I like when something is happening. I mean, I also start off with the model maybe just sitting, but you know, if she leans over and grabs a glass of water, suddenly I will like that job better, because it's a little bit slice of life, you know. It's not just her posing, but it's actually something happening, and I'm more intrigued to this kind of imagery. Because also the fact that I was a model, I really feel how it is to be in front of the camera, you know, like how you can feel so awful. You're very vulnerable when you're in front of the camera. So, you know, it takes a little bit of psychology to kind of get a woman, you know, to feel comfortable, and, you know, to, you know, play and open up.
You talk a lot about kind of empowering women. Would you say that you're a feminist?
Yeah, of course. I'm a woman, how can I not be?
Good answer.
I'm a feminist, but I don't want to scare men away. You know, I'm not a feminist, like saying, I think I'm a feminist, but I think women should still like be sexy and, you know, not scare men away.
When you say sexy, do you mean sexy for themselves or sexy to a man?
For both. You know, I think it's great if you want to dress up and put lipstick on and then have a dance in front of your mirror, and you know, that can be the best time.
What you do in your spare time?
Yeah, with champagne, little music. That's fantastic too. I think it's important for both. It doesn't, or for your girlfriend, or you know, I think it's important to feel great, and you know, that's what life is about.
How do you hope your work would be seen and remembered.
I hope people think, oh my God, I wish I would have been there. I want to hang out with these people and want to be there with them, and it gives them a good inspiration.
So you want your imagery to feel inclusive then?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, like that people, as I said, they would love to be there with them or like do the same thing. They say, oh, it looks like a fun party. Let's do a party like this. Let's create an atmosphere like this. I think that's great. And if they want to have a print in their house, that's great too.